consultant Richard Gabriel is our next guest. All right, Richard, thanks. So everybody tells us this all comes down to jury instructions. Let's do that first. Talk about charging the jury. What should we expect?
Well, jury instructions are important. Sometimes jury kind of bypass the instructions. It's sort of obvious from an evidence standpoint. But this is a fairly unique case, especially just from an allegation standpoint in terms of connecting the dots. So the jury instructions in terms of guiding the jurors on how to connect the evidence actually to the verdict questions that they're going to be using is going to be important, especially because you have two lawyers on this jury who are going to be analyzing this and looking very carefully at the language that's going to be used in the instructions. So I think the jury instructions will be important. I was a little surprised in the closing argument this morning from the defense that they didn't hit on why certain allegations really didn't meet the burden of proof in the instructions and why they should vote not guilty on the instructions, because that's really, I think, what it's going to come down to for the jurors.
Interesting that you think maybe they missed an opportunity. Before I go to composition of the jury, which I do want to talk to you about at the moment, where do you think specifically the defense missed its chance?
Well, a lot of times what happens is first of all, the jury doesn't actually need 7 hours of closing arguments. For the most part, the jury knows already how they feel about this case. So yes, both sides are trying to arm their opinion leaders, the people that they think are going to fight for them in the jury room. That's one of the evidence there. What the other thing is, I think the jury's job is really different than us. They know the story of the case for the most part. What they're trying to do is connect the dots. Okay, what's my job? My job is to make a decision on the verdict questions here. And what are the instructions that are then going to connect the evidence to that question? So I was expecting a little more in the defense from them to be able to say, here's what the evidence here, here's why it doesn't meet this particular jury instruction, which is then going to guide you to a not guilty on this verdict question. So I think, unless I missed it, there was that missed opportunity.
That is really interesting to me because it brings together this idea of someone might say, well, he did it, meaning that he signed these checks and we know the $130,000 was paid, but that's not necessarily all that's at question here. And you need to be specific, to your point, so people know what their job is. Let's look at the jury now and how it's made up. I have it on my tablet that we brought down, and we can project it up on the screen. I want to highlight a couple of these jurors. Obviously, we talked about the foreman before. We'll get back to that in a moment. But the two lawyers are 3 and 7. They're actually right next to each other here. Male corporate attorney, male big law litigator. And then on the other side of things, you do have the foreman here. We've talked about from Harlem, male, Irish, born in Ireland, lives here, of course, in New York. In Harlem. So when they all get together, do you think it's that juror foreman that we've talked about, the foreman of the jury that's leading the discussions, or maybe one of those two lawyers?
Well, oftentimes it is the foreperson that does have the most sway in the jury deliberations, but sometimes the jury foreperson is more of a facilitator. They're the person who goes, I want to just go around. They may be strong, but let's face it, we have a very strong, very opinionated jury. You've got the two lawyers. You also have two strong financial guys who are also going to have a lot of opinions about the financial transactions and about whether a CFO or a CEO or whether chief counsel has knowledge about these payment stuff. So, and there's got two engineers also on this who are also looking at evidentiary stuff in a very particular way. So you've got a lot of people on this jury that have some expertise and some experience with the issues that I think could all contribute to this deliberation process.
Now, as a final thing, Richard, take out potential political leanings. I know it's been talked about over and over how, you know, Manhattan is the most democratic borough in a very, very democratic city of New York. But just the composition of the jury, who they are, what they do for a living, is there a side that you think is favored in that regard and looked at this and said, all right, I'm happy with what we got here?
I think, obviously, being in a more democratic bureau definitely is going to favor the prosecution. They think, you know, look, jurors do feel, and I think they will obviously feel, you know, what is my verdict? How's it going to count? What is it going to say to the public at large, knowing that the world is potentially watching this? So I think, you know, their sort of moral tenor and whether they feel, yes, this is actually election interference, or whether this is just politics as usual, is probably a better barometer than just political leanings. It's really the attitudes towards whether politics as usual or no, this is a serious implication on the system itself. So I think that's really where I would say the leanings of these jurors and how they feel is really going to kind of go into how they interpret the evidence.
And as early as tomorrow, these 12 men and women may decide whether Donald Trump's running for president again as a convicted felon. And think about that. Jury consultant Richard Gabriel, we thank you as we continue from here, and our coverage does. And